even if we take the false pretext as the weapons of mass destruction, which we know never existed. Okay. Now, the title of my lecture today, as we know that Chris has had some problems with his email. I've also had problems with my email. I've had my email changed by my internet provider with no explanation. They don't even know how it happened. So we know that we do come up under problems with that, and that's why Dennis probably gave me a little bit incorrect introduction. The actual title of my lecture today is Why 9/11 Truth. I think most of us would now agree that 9/11 was an inside job. Am I right?
Yeah. Even Willie Nelson says that.
So, and you'll find in the public now that well over a third of people have suspicions, and a lot of people, like every crowd of people, there'll be numerous people now that will assert in public that 9/11 was an inside job. Even people with credentials, even professional people that have things to lose, like myself. So, really, we've come a long way since 2001, and I think predominantly since 2006. I know at the Inverell Forum, Dave Von Fleiss spoke there, I think back in 2006 the first time. That was really when the truth was breaking out as such. And Dave and I have some different views on what's the best evidence, but all in all, he was doing a great job by presenting the evidence that he put forward that 9/11 was something other than we were told. Okay, so why 9/11 truth? I don't have to explain the evidence too much to you. What I will do is bring you up to date with the latest evidence and the tools that we have that can awaken the people inside the establishment that care for human life and for justice and truth, and also they can awaken the academics that think that they know what's going on. Which obviously most people in this room are much better educated about what is actually going on than most of the people that are in control of our lives. And that should really worry people. Okay, so I'm going to make an argument, which is probably the wrong term, but that's what I've written down here. And why? Because we live in an adversarial system at the moment. Why 9/11 truth? Okay, now I believe that the truth of 9/11 can break the mainstream reality. It can actually cause people to drop out of the world that they live in today, the world of fear, the world of, we talked about, the world of fiction, which is really the world that we live in. We live in a false reality matrix. And I think that 9/11, because of the evidence and the work that's been done by academics and people as activists producing resources like the DVDs that you see, that there are now 50 DVDs or movies about 9/11 from an activist or from a truth perspective. That's amazing. And many, many people within Australia and all around the world have seen videos. So the seeds are planted. Okay, so on September 11, we were told that Al-Qaeda obviously carried out the attacks on 9/11. We had Osama bin Laden in a cave with a laptop. Tora Bora complex, we were told. It was actually a film put onto the TV via American mainstream media outlets that showed a complex of caves with, like tanks in the basement, artillery pieces, all sorts of things. We had, bedrooms and all these things inside these cave complexes. The simple fact is that they didn't find any cave complexes. They might have found a few caves with a fire in them, or remnants of the fire, but there was no cave complexes. The construction of Al-Qaeda is completely difficult. It is based on the idea of Al-Qaeda or the Mujahideen that was produced by the CIA to go against Russia, to bring Russia down. So we know that's completely discredited as a theory. Now, I'll just move briefly to some of the evidence that most people would know about, and I'll just point at some of the more recent valid evidence. Obviously, the American military stand-down was quite well articulated when Norman Mineta commented about the aircraft coming towards the Pentagon when he was in the control bunker in Washington, under the White House, when he was with Dick Cheney. The young officer was running into the room. Now, most of you are aware of that when he talks about the planes 50 miles out, sir, the planes 30 miles out, sir, the planes 10 miles out, sir. Do the orders still stand, sir? This is what the young officer is saying to Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney says, yes, the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? Now, that plane hit the Pentagon, or something hit the Pentagon, we're not quite sure. It is possible the plane hit the Pentagon, but we know that it couldn't have hit the Pentagon if the anti-aircraft batteries were put into play, or if the Air Force base was put into play, or if any of the normal procedures, the normal operating procedures that the American military would use, that would have never happened. Now, that's clear evidence of a military stand-down. It was also admitted. We know about when things are admitted, or if we have silence, then there's basically an admission of guilt. Okay, so we have an admission of guilt, or a way the American government has shown to us that there was a stand-down by that evidence alone. Obviously, we had Bush's behaviour on the days, which was very unusual. He stayed in a place that he was publicised to be in for half an hour, which is way outside of the normal operating procedures. Obviously, we had the towers collapses. We had World Trade Center 1 and 2 collapses that fell at approximately 2/3 of free fall into their own footprint, producing pyroclastic clouds of dust that ran into the street, moving at 35 miles an hour, or approximately 60 kilometres an hour. Unbelievable. We have nothing left from the rubble pile except the steel and a few remnants of what was in the buildings. We don't have any concrete. It's all gone. It's all pulverised. Now, we know personally in Australia that Dr. David Lee from Sydney University, who manages the facilities at the architecture faculty in Sydney, has actually done experiments, many other people have done experiments, to look at the energy required to change concrete to dust. It requires far more energy than is available in a gravitational collapse. That's just one of the pieces of evidence. We also now have this paper here. It's called Active Thermitic Material Discovered in the Dust from the 9/11 World Trade Center Catastrophe. This is a peer-reviewed paper authored by 9 independent scientists from all around the world, including Dr. Frank Legg, who will be presenting evidence at the forum we're having in Sydney on Sunday, 15th of November. Now, Frank Legg and the other people, including Dr. Stephen Jones and Niels Harrod, who's a doctor of nanochemistry, actually an expert in this field, have discovered that numerous dust samples of up to about 20 now they have received all contain the residue of explosives, and now they have proven that nanothermite exists. Now, nanothermite is a high-tech incendiary explosive that was only basically came into use in the late 90s, and it's only recently been talked about in the public. So, this is absolutely gobsmacking material. This is material that should put a lot of people under scrutiny and should put a lot of people in jail. This is not evidence of a smoking gun. This is a loaded gun, unused explosive ordnance found in the dust. If you put this material under a flame of about 400 degrees Celsius, it explodes and it burns at over 2,500 degrees Celsius. So it's not only cut steel, it explodes like TNT. It's just something that no one can get their hands on unless you're in an American military laboratory. So it directly implicates the American military in the collapse of those buildings. So far in the world, we haven't received any press in Australia or, obviously websites that I'm involved with or other activists like yourselves are involved with, whether it's been talked about extensively. It's been mentioned a lot of blogs, it's been mentioned a lot of comments on articles, but it has not been reported by any press officially within Australia or America or Canada, or as far as I know, New Zealand. But it has been reported by news agencies in Russia. It's been talked about in other parts of Europe as well, including the equivalent of the 730 report in Holland that's done a 12-minute segment on this material. This paper talking to the lead scientists. Absolutely amazing, but here we have nothing. Okay, so we've got the evidence of the destruction. It's as simple as that. Obviously, you know that the buildings could not have fallen as fast as they did. Recently, Dr. David Lee from Sydney University presented a paper of his called The Life and Death of World Trade Center 1, where he did the calculations on just as if we just imagine we have the buildings, we just have the concrete floors. Sorry about my drawing here. We had 110 concrete floors just sitting there, and they were just sitting on toothpicks. Just like that. There's no structure. No 47 core columns that are this big, and at the base they are this big. Not 47 columns like that, and 100 plus columns on the outside. Just toothpicks, just the floors, just the concrete. Just sitting there, 110 floors. If we were to let the top 10 floors, say in the case of World Trade Center 1, approximately the top 10 floors, fall through that mass, it's sitting on toothpicks. With no structural strength, it takes nearly 13 seconds for the building to collapse, just with the concrete there. The only way we can make it collapse more quickly is to remove the mass of the actual concrete. We have to remove the mass of the concrete. How can we do that? With a gravitational collapse. So without even taking the structure into consideration, the thermite